Hey, how's it going? And today I wanted to talk a little bit about compound nodes in LightWave. And the reason I'm making this tutorial is because I was completely confused about them and what you'd even use them for. And so I just wanted to make this as simple as possible. So what I did is I just made a LERP node, and I'm going to just show you how I did this. And what it does is it allows us to control the blending of colors here on a float value, basically. So if this is 1, this is be blue, and if it's 0, it's going to be red, and any value in between is going to be a blend of those colors. So it's just a LERP node, a linear interpolation node. So let me just show you how, once you get your mind around it, how easy it is and how helpful it is. So I'm just going to clear the scene real fast, and we'll recreate this. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into model, geometry, I'm going to make a ground plane, and then I'm just going to get a sphere, and then we'll go ahead and just raise up the sphere a little bit, and then we'll go into the surface editor and we'll just turn on smoothing so it looks pretty good. And then the one thing to know about LightWave is that there's 3 kinds of node editors, and if you come into the documentation, there's one for displacement, there's one for lights, and there's one for surface destinations. So it's not like something that's always there. It's only related to these 3 things: displacement, light destination, and surface destination. So it's not like in some programs where you just go into the node editor. It's only through light, displacement, and surfaces, which is a lot, but still it's not universally everywhere. In this case, I'm going to mess with the light, so I'm going to zoom in here a little bit, and let's say I'm going to go on the light, select the light in the scene, this light right here, and I'll go to properties, and you'll see I have the ability to edit the node. Now I'm in the node editor. I'm just going to keep it about this size right now. Now the first thing that's confusing is we'll get a compound node. Now the best way to think of a node, a compound node, as you're creating a function. So it's going to have an input and it's going to have an output. And so that's the first thing to understand. It's a specialized function. You would use it when you have a sequence of nodes that are performing a specific function, and you want to kind of keep them all together and isolated from everything else, and it kind of keeps your node system cleaner too and organized. So it's just a way of organizing something that you would repeatedly reuse. So, but in LightWave it's confusing because here is where you would create the input for your function. So when you're in the node editor, see where it says input here? Well, this is where you would create your inputs for your function or your compound node. So when you see compound, just think of function. That's a really easier way to think of it. And then the function has inputs, and it's here you create the inputs. The other confusing thing is the output is in the viewport. So let me just match my camera perspective here. Your output is the viewport, which makes sense because you're trying to affect something on the screen that you're doing. So once you get that helps, I think, a lot. So this is your input, and then this is your output. Okay, and then so we have to create inputs. In this case, we're going to create 2 colors, and we need a float, or what they call a scalar in LightWave. So we'll just come over here, and we're just going to search for a color constant, and we need 2 of them. One thing about the node editor, it's actually pretty advanced as far as ease of getting around. So this one, we're just going to make this red. And then this one, we're just going to make it blue. Whoops, what did I do? I meant to have this one red, okay. And then it's like this node, and I want to make it blue. There we go. And then I need what's called a scalar, which is basically a float. You can think of it as a float value. Okay. Now these are going to be our inputs. These could be our inputs too, but these are going to be our inputs for our function. What's neat is they've got this tool over here, and this gives you kind of a way to see what an output is on something. So we see these are all vectors. We see that's just a 1 right now. So what we do is we plug this in here, and then it adds it as an input. adds it as an input, and then adds it as an input. The problem is we can't rename these here. Okay, now once that's done, if we double click into this, this takes us into the function that we would be creating based on these inputs. Now these can be renamed, so I can rename this. I can right click on it, go here to node menu, and I can just up here, I'm going to call this red, and go OK. And then I can right click here and call this blue, and go OK. And then for my own understanding, I'm going to call this float. And what's weird is you won't see it here, but if you click on either of these take you back into the node editor, and you'll see they're renamed here. And to go back into the function, you can go just click. So now we're going to create basically our throughput. So now we're going to create our function. I meant to say, let's go ahead and put this on BPR so we can see our output. So that's our output right now, and these are our inputs right now. And again, we can hover over them and see. So the first thing, we just need a couple things here. We just need a multiply vector, 2 of these. You can just double click on these to make them pop up. And then we need a subtract vector. And it's it's not a subtract vector, I'm sorry, it's just a subtract. And then the last thing we need is add, vector add. And that's all we need. So this would clutter up. If we didn't have this ability, this would be cluttering up our main node editor. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply this, the blue, by whatever float value we enter, and then we're going to add it there. And then here we're going to subtract here in our, we're going to put a 1 here to create our inverse. I'm going to put this into this, is going to be 1 minus the float value. And this is going to be multiplied by the red value and this one here. And then we'll put that in there. And then our output is here. Now you notice when I plugged it in, it's a result. I can rename this. So I'm going to just call this blend. And we go OK. Now I'm done. So this is our function right here, our throughput. So we have our input, which technically is created here. Click in here. This is our throughput. Click there to go back. And this is our output that's going to basically be displayed here. So now when I pop this into, let's say, luminaire color, what will happen is, let me double click on here. So when this is 1, it's going to be blue. The reason why it doesn't look blue is because we have the backdrop on. So now when this is 1, this is blue. When this is 0, this is red. And then when we drag along, we create a blend. Like if we put in 0.5, we get a purple. So what we've done is we've created a LERP node in LightWave. And so just to review, this is where we create our input. We create a compound node. We can create the throughput, the function. And then our output is technically our viewport here. So anyway, I hope you found this of help. Take care and have a great day.